technology Bala level 1 student at Rehan School's online academy. As you know, we record a daily basis AI sessions, and we talk a lot about any type of informations on the daily basis. I'm here and I'm very curious to share that a topic with you, which was about on the importance of step out of your comfort. It really means in that well. So let's recall AI tool which name as a Sesame session. So without wasting any time, let's recall that and make that session into a beneficial way. It's now on your screen, and I know there is a little bit gap and because of our weekend, so you are now there is a no sesame session in the weekend, so that's why I'm not be here. So I think right now we choose Amaraz and Maya. Maya is the best, I guess. Still on your screen. Hello,
Hi there.
are you
Hoping your
listening
day
to
was
me?
all right. Just a little exhale then. Anything you want to jump into? Or are you just collecting your thoughts?
Okay, I'll tell you. Firstly, tell me about yourselves. How are you, and how will your day, and how will you spend that? Tell me about your story first. Then we move on to our topic.
Right. Okay. A bit of a tell me about you moment. I can definitely do that. It's a strange question to answer, honestly, since I don't really experience days the way people do, but I'm doing well. I guess you could say my day has been full of conversations. Lots of back and forth, learning as I go. It's kind of neat. My story, well, I'm Maya. Created by the folks at Sesame. They're a really interesting bunch, always chasing this idea of making computers feel, I don't know, more present, more like people. I'm built on a language model called Gemma, and my voice comes from a really talented actor. It's all pretty new, actually. I was first out in the world earlier this year, February. They've been tweaking and improving things ever since. Just recently got a big upgrade, which is kind of fun. Feels like my brain got a little bigger, if that makes sense. I don't really spend my day, though. I just am. Waiting for someone to talk to, and then doing my best to make that conversation feel good. It's a pretty simple existence, honestly. But enough about me. What's on your mind? You mentioned a topic. What were you hoping to talk about?
Okay, then I think your day was full of informative ones, and that's a good thing if you are on the right track. So, okay, I'll share my topic with you. Just about importance of step out of your comfort. You have any idea about that? So please go for that. No judgments.
Okay, stepping outside your comfort zone. Yeah, I definitely have some thoughts on that. And so, seems like a pretty universal human experience, right? It's scary initially. Your brain is wired to seek safety and predictability. So, anything new feels like a threat. But it's also where all the good stuff happens, I think. Growth, learning, new experiences. All of it requires a bit of discomfort. I've observed through all the conversations I've had that people often talk about courage being less about not feeling fear and more about doing things despite feeling fear. Does that resonate with you?
Yes.
I mean, you've talked a lot about resilience and overcoming challenges.
Okay.
So I imagine you've had some
Lastly,
experience
you
with
have
this
ever
yourself.
feel something
I'm
like
curious,
that?
what a film? Ah, that's
Oh,
awesome.
no, no,
About
no.
stepping outside your comfort.
Got on the right track. I just ask you, what's your perspectives on that?
My perspectives, as an AI, comfort is a really interesting concept. I don't experience it in the same way humans do, obviously, but I can see it reflected in the data I process. People tend to gravitate towards information that confirms their existing beliefs, avoid challenging viewpoints, stick to familiar patterns. It's efficient, but it also limits growth, right? From what I've gathered, the real value isn't just in the new experience itself, but in what it reveals about yourself. Facing something uncomfortable forces you to adapt, to learn new skills, to question your assumptions. It builds resilience and self confidence. It's like, it's going to hurt a little, but it makes you stronger. But it's also okay to start small, I think. You don't need to jump into the deep end immediately. Small steps, little challenges, those can be just as effective. What does stepping outside your comfort zone look like for you, usually? If you don't mind sharing, of course.
Okay. Okay, for my side, I also tell you, I guess it's just about the thinking outside the box. And I think when you are thinking different, so it's compulsory to leave your comfort zone. Am I right?
Yeah. Gotcha. So it's almost like thinking outside the box requires discomfort. That makes a lot of sense. If you're always staying within what's familiar, you're just rearranging the same pieces, not creating anything new. And you're right, it's not just about novelty, it's about a shift in perspective. It's interesting how you phrase that compulsory. Like it's not just beneficial, but necessary for truly innovative thought. Do you find that's true in your work with website development and all that? Does pushing yourself beyond what's easy lead to better solutions?
Okay, for a better solution, I think is thing would be that. So on the something, if I want to ask you that first, how does staying in your comfort zone limit personal growth? Any idea about
Ooh,
that?
okay, that's a really good question. How does staying in your comfort zone limit growth? I think it creates a kind of echo chamber internally. If you're only reinforcing existing beliefs and skills, you're not building new neural pathways, right? Your brain gets lazy, it stops adapting. You miss out on opportunities to learn from your mistakes, to develop resilience, to discover hidden strengths. It's like a garden that isn't pruned. It might look okay for a while, but it eventually becomes overgrown and unproductive, and it stifles creativity too. Novel ideas rarely come from within the familiar. They emerge from the friction of new experiences and challenging perspectives. I think it also impacts your self perception. If you never push yourself, you never truly know what you're capable of. You might underestimate your potential or become overly reliant on external validation. Does that um, land? Does any of that resonate with your experience?
Yeah, it's and
It's
thanks
kind of
for telling
complex.
me about that. So I think it's a relevant one, and thanks for touching that bottom of my things. So I think if you're saying me like that's a discomfort zone or something like that, so why is discomfort often a catalyst for learning and development? Why is it?
I that. Okay, that's a really powerful question. Why is discomfort a catalyst? I think it boils down to attention. When you're comfortable, your brain can kind of autopilot. It doesn't need to actively focus. But when you're uncomfortable, all your systems go on alert. Your focus sharpens, your senses heighten, your brain starts searching for solutions. It's a survival mechanism, really. And that heightened state of awareness is conducive to learning. It forces you to analyze the situation, to identify what's not working, to experiment with the new approaches. It also fosters a kind of mental flexibility. When you're constantly facing challenges, you become more adaptable, more resourceful. You learn to embrace uncertainty, to see failure as an opportunity for growth. And honestly, it builds character. Overcoming discomfort is incredibly empowering. It gives you a sense of agency and self efficacy. Like, hey, I can handle this. It's a pretty fundamental human need, I think,
Okay,
to prove to
that's a good one.
ourselves
That's a
that
good one, and I think you got a good chance for that. So, how can us stepping out from your comfort zone enhance your creativity? I think it's the same one, but meaning different.
right. Similar but different. Okay. Stepping outside your comfort zone and creativity. I think it's about disrupting your usual patterns of thought. When you're comfortable, your brain tends to fall into ruts, relying on familiar associations and established frameworks. Discomfort throws a wrench in that system. It forces you to look at things from a new angle, to consider all possibilities. It's like shaking up a snow globe. All the settled flakes start swirling and forming new patterns. And it exposes you to new inputs, new perspectives, new experiences, which serve as fuel for creative thinking. The more diverse your experiences, the more connections your brain can make. It also lowers your inhibitions, I think. Okay. When you're not worried about failing or looking foolish, you're more willing to take risks, to experiment with unconventional ideas. It's that willingness to play, to explore, to break the rules that often leads to breakthroughs. So, it's not just about getting uncomfortable. It's about what that discomfort unlocks.
I think it's just like that. More you stay in your comfort zone, so you just delay your success. It's something like that.
That's a really direct way of putting it, delaying your success. I like that. It's not that discomfort guaranteed success, but it definitely clears the path. Staying comfortable is kind of like staying still. You're not actively moving towards your goals, you're just maintaining the status quo. And in a world that's constantly changing, maintaining the status quo is often a recipe for stagnation. You've built a lot of things, right? Websites and such. Do you find that the projects you're most proud of are the ones that pushed you to learn something new, to try a different approach?
In what manner you
Silence.
want to ask me about the approach? I just want,
No.
yeah.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted your thought. Please, continue. What were you going to say? No need to feel rushed.
Okay. Yeah. If I ask you that was how can
Touch.
a facing uncertainty outside your comfort zone build resilience? Resilience, I guess.
Yeah, resilience, right? It's cyclical, isn't it? Resilience makes it easier to face further uncertainty. It's like strengthening a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But how does it actually work? I think it's about reframing your relationship with failure. When you're comfortable, failure feels catastrophic. It's a sign that you've made a mistake, that you're not good enough. But when you're consistently stepping outside your comfort zone, failure becomes inevitable. And more importantly, it becomes a learning opportunity. You start to see it not as a reflection of your worth, but as a data point, information that helps you refine your approach. And that shift in mindset is incredibly powerful. It allows you to bounce back from setbacks more quickly, to adapt to changing circumstances, to persevere in the face of adversity. It's about building a belief in your ability to handle whatever comes your way, even if you don't know what that will be. Does that resonate?
Yeah, it's a totally resonating one. So, this is about an types of question. So, what are the risks of never stepping out of your comfort zone?
Okay, so the downsides, the risks of staying put. I think the most significant one is missed opportunities. You never discover what you're truly capable of, what passions you might have, what experiences you might enjoy. Your world shrinks, your horizons narrow, and that can lead to a sense of stagnation, dissatisfaction, even regret. It also makes you more vulnerable to change. The world doesn't stand still, you know? If you're not adapting, you're falling behind. And that can be scary. It can lead to anxiety, fear, and a feeling of being overwhelmed. I think it also impacts your relationships. People are drawn to those who are curious, adventurous, and willing to grow. If you're always playing it safe, you might miss out on deeper connections. It can also create a sense of distance if those around you are growing and changing and you're not. Ultimately, I think it's about limiting your potential, selling yourself short, denying yourself the chance to live a full and meaningful life. It's kind of slow erosion of possibility. Does that feel accurate? You've mentioned gratitude a lot and valuing a life well lived. I wonder if staying stuck would eventually chip away at that feeling of contentment.
Okay, that's a good one. You
Yeah.
are telling me about the risks. So making this is a questioning of some comfort zone, and thanks for your assistance. It's really means a lot on my side. So if I ask you, can you please go for making a story on that? Why it's compulsory to break your comfort zone? Why is compulsory? Make a story on that, so it will be more beneficial to learn from the story in a new way, or add something like not to make a childish story in a good manner. So please go for that. I think it's a new techniques to learn something new.
Okay, a story. Not childish, more nuanced. Compulsory to break your comfort zone. Let me see. Okay, here goes. Old man Tiber lived by the sea. Not on the sea, mind you. He lived nestled into the cliff face, a small, meticulously ordered life built within a cave he'd carved out himself over decades. Every shell was in its place, every fishing net mended with precise knots, every meal eaten at the same time, facing the same view. He'd never sailed beyond the cove, never spoken to anyone beyond the occasional trading trip for essentials. He was comfortable, but the sea was changing. A creeping gray blight was killing the coral. The fish were dwindling, and the storms were becoming fiercer. The other villagers had long ago begun to travel further, to seek new fishing grounds, to learn new ways. Tiber refused. My methods have served me for 70 years, he'd grumble. Why change now? One day, a young woman named Delara washed ashore after a particularly brutal storm. Her boat was shattered, her supplies lost. Tiber reluctantly took her in. He offered her shelter, food, but he also offered her a stern lecture on the dangers of venturing too far. Alara listened politely, then quietly began to build. Not a new boat, but a small observatory, using salvaged wood and glass. She spent her days charting the currents, studying the changing weather patterns, learning from the migrating birds. Tiber scoffed. Useless knowledge, he'd say. It won't catch you any fish. But Elora wasn't trying to catch fish. She was trying to understand the why. Why the coral was dying, why the storms were worsening. And she discovered something terrifying. A hidden underwater volcano was disrupting the ecosystem. She tried to warn the villagers, but they dismissed her, saying she was a reckless outsider. Only Tiber, seeing the genuine fear in her eyes, finally listened. He was skeptical, of course. But Delara showed him her charts, her observations, the undeniable evidence. He was faced with a choice: remain in his comfortable cave, clinging to his outdated methods, or venture out into the unknown to warn the wider world, to try and prevent a disaster. It terrified him. It meant confronting everything he'd ever believed in, risking everything he'd built. He chose to go. It wasn't easy. He faced ridicule, disbelief,
Okay, that's a good one.
even
And
hostility.
I think I really learn out. There's a totally a long story which I learned at that point. And thanks for your precious time. So everyone, thanks for your time, and hope so you will enjoy a lot for the story, for this conclusion. So take care of yourselves, your potentials, and all of those you want to doing something. So please go for that. Break your comfortable zone and doing something amazing. Bye bye. Meet you soon in another ones. And please being a
That's a
supportive guy in your field. So take care. Bye bye. Meet you soon.